Vinicius might leave Real Madrid, and his new club will definitely surprise you. Kvaratskhelia is swapping Naples for Barcelona. Chelsea is splashing out crazy money again, this time for Benfica's star defender. Meanwhile, a coaching sensation is brewing in Madrid. The name of Real's new manager is already known, and that's just the beginning. Ready to hear all the details? Then let's dive in. Well folks, it looks like we're in for a real coaching bombshell. Xabi Alonso, the very same who pulled off a miracle with Bayer last season, seems to be packing his bags. And where is he headed? Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's take a moment to remember why Alonso is such a big deal. He took Bayer, a team that wasn't exactly reaching for the stars, and turned them into Bundesliga champions. And he did it without a single loss. Germany had never seen anything like it. Naturally, after such success, everyone was circling him like vultures. Liverpool showed interest, and other giants too. But Alonso chose to stay at Bayer back then, probably thinking he could repeat last season's triumph. But not so fast. This season, things are, to put it mildly, not going great for Bayer. 4th place, only 4 wins in 10 matches. Not exactly what was expected of them. And now, out of the blue, comes the news. Alonso, it seems, plans to leave the club at the end of the season. And, of course, a real scramble for the wunderkind coach has begun. The main contenders are Manchester City and Real Madrid. It's obvious why Real Madrid wants him at the helm. He's one of their own, after all, having played there before. Plus, Ancelotti seems to be on his way out. His contract runs until 2026. But there are rumors his tenure might be running its course. They recently lost to Barça and Milan, and Madrid is already buzzing with talk of a managerial change. To add fuel to the fire, even Ancelotti himself hinted that Real Madrid could be his last club. It seems the Italian is already thinking about retirement, and who better to lead the royal club than Alonso? Manchester City isn't sitting still either. Guardiola is still undecided about his future, and Alonso, with his talent, would be a perfect replacement. Can you imagine the showdown between these two giants for the Spanish specialist? By the way, there's talk that Alonso's contract includes a special clause allowing him to move to Real Madrid, so we might already have a clue about where he'll end up next summer. And what about Bayer? They're in for a tough time, no doubt. Losing a coach like that is a big blow. But who knows, maybe they'll find a worthy replacement. After all, football is a game full of surprises. Personally, I think Alonso will choose Real Madrid. It's a logical step in his career, and he has a special connection with the club. But let's see how it all plays out. Either way, we're in for an exciting summer. Remember how all the fans of Manchester United, Real Madrid, and other top clubs were practically drooling at the thought of Jamal Musiala, that diamond from Bayern, joining them in 2025. Well, forget it. It seems Bayern decided to play ahead of the game and, to put it mildly, kill everyone's buzz. This whole Musiala story has been brewing for a while. The guy is a rare talent, no doubt about it, so it was only natural that a line formed to sign him. Manchester City and Liverpool were rumoured to have their eyes on him at some point. And then, rumours started flying that Ruben Amorim's first move would be to snap up Musiala. How could fans not start dreaming? Imagine the hype. Fans were already drawing up lineups, and analysts were breaking down how he'd fit into a new squad. And what did Bayern do? Bayern, it seems, just sat back with a sly smile, waiting for the hype to peak so they could pull an ace from their sleeve. You see, Musiala's contract expires in 2026. And, honestly, Bayern wasn't exactly generous at first. They were offering him a salary that, to put it mildly, didn't match his talent. This is a guy who's in the running for best young player, and they were tossing him peanuts. What were they thinking? But it seems they finally realized the stakes were high. Real Madrid, with their knack for sniffing out contracts nearing expiration, was already circling, and others weren't far behind. So, Bayern decided, enough is enough. They didn't want a repeat of the Toni Kroos saga, when they lost a genius for next to nothing. And now, as reported by Sport, negotiations with Musiala are in full swing. Not just going, but accelerating. Word is, Bayern caved and agreed to all the players' terms. Just imagine, 22 million euros a year with bonuses. That's crazy money. But it looks like they're ready to pay to keep their star. On one hand, you can understand Bayern. Musiala is the future of the club, its face. Losing a player like that would be a disaster. On the other hand, couldn't they have just agreed on fair terms from the start? Why go through this circus of negotiations and the threat of him leaving? What now? It looks like Manchester and Real Madrid will have to search for other reinforcements, and fans will be left biting their nails, wondering how Musiala might have performed at Real Madrid. Of course, until the contract is signed, anything could still happen. But my guess is Bayern has done everything to keep their diamond. And who can blame them? You have to protect your talented players. All that's left for us is to sigh and wait for the next transfer saga. Football, it's always full of surprises. Alright friends, it's time to vent a bit. Let's talk about Kylian Mbappé, our French star who, to put it mildly, is not having the best of times. At first, it all looked like a fairy tale. The long-awaited move to Real Madrid becoming the latest Galactico. It seemed like he had it all. But it hasn't quite turned out that way. Here's the situation. Things aren't clicking for Kylian at Real Madrid. Just one goal in the last 7 matches, that's not the level expected of someone signed for a ridiculous amount of money, rumor has it, with a huge signing bonus and a salary that makes regular folks' heads spin. And it's not much better with the French national team. Didier Deschamps, who you'd think would cherish his main star, has suddenly started leaving him out of the lineup. Can you believe it? Mbappé, a World Cup champion, sitting on the bench. What on earth is going on? They're saying Kylian has some physical and psychological issues. Apparently, he's struggling both at Real Madrid and with France, but I don't think that's the whole story. It seems there's been a falling out between Mbappé and Deschamps. Remember how Kylian used to clash with the French Football Federation, acting more like a politician than a footballer, and now it looks like he's at odds with the coach too. And this at just 25. There are even rumors that he might retire from the national team altogether. What a disaster. But maybe it's not all doom and gloom. Perhaps Deschamps just gave Kylian a break. After all, even stars get tired. Mbappé is definitely not playing at his best right now, and let's be honest, he's not scoring as much as he could. What's intriguing though is that Real Madrid expects him to step up as a leader. Florentino Perez has asked Carlo Ancelotti to make Kylian the team's alpha. They're even promising him Modric's number 10 jersey once the Croatian moves on. Ancelotti apparently believes in Kylian too, thinking he can become a true leader if he sharpens his defensive play. But how can he become a leader when he's having such problems with the national team? Can a player lead his club while clashing with the national team coach? That's a rhetorical question, of course. To me, it feels like Mbappé is at a crossroads. He needs to prove that he's worthy of the Galactico title. He needs to show that he deserves the captain's armband for France. And he has to sort out his issues with Deschamps, if they really exist. How will it all end? I don't know, but I really hope that Kylian can overcome these challenges and shine again on the football stage. Otherwise, I don't even want to think about it. Listen, what's the deal with Vinícius at Real Madrid? It seems like he's practically the only one carrying the team, yet his future is shrouded in uncertainty. How does that make sense? He's basically the rock of stability amidst all this chaos, but they're not offering him a new contract. Or if they are, it's something he's rejecting right away. To put it mildly, that's weird, isn't it? And then there's the whole Ballon d'Or saga. Let's be honest, Vinícius deserved that award more than many others. And they just snubbed him. Can you imagine what that does to his self-esteem? Of course, he'll start questioning if staying at Real is even worth it, and I think he'd be right to do so. What's that all about? Imagine how he feels, watching himself being treated like a backup option. Now here's where things get really interesting. Saudi Arabia, they say, is ready to put €1 billion on the table. $1 billion, can you believe it? It's obvious that would make anyone's head spin. But in my opinion, it's too soon for Vinícius to retire. With that kind of money, he'd definitely forget about the Ballon d'Or. But in Europe, he still has every chance to win it. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Liverpool enters the picture. Just imagine Vinícius at Anfield taking Salah's place. Sounds good, right? Liverpool fans are already making noise, demanding that the club splurge. And it makes sense. They can't miss out on a player like him. Vinícius is the full package, a proven performer with a winner's mentality, exactly what Liverpool needs to conquer the Premier League and the Champions League. Now, here's the funniest part. Florentino Perez's son, Chivo, is apparently pushing his father to sell Vinícius. Imagine that, his own son. Rumor has it the Saudis are offering 400 to 500 million euros. Well, it's clear Real Madrid finances aren't in the best shape after the Bernabéu renovation and the pandemic, and selling Vinícius could solve all those problems. Plus, Mbappé could move to the left wing, where he's more comfortable. But you know what I think? It's not that simple. Real Madrid without Vinicius wouldn't be the same Real Madrid, and Mbappe, in my opinion, hasn't lived up to expectations yet. Selling the guy who's leading the team just to solve financial problems, it's not exactly the royal way, is it? Vinicius himself, they say, is shocked by all this. He wants to stay at Real forever, and according to rumors, he's ready to challenge Perez's advisors. Good for him. What a fighter. What's going to happen next? It's hard to say. On one hand, Perez is a businessman and money obviously matters to him. On the other hand, he's not foolish enough to lose a player like that. I think we're in for a lot more intrigue and drama. But one thing's for sure, Vinicius won't give up without a fight. And if Real loses him, they'll regret it. Mark my words. Let's talk about Endrick, the Brazilian prodigy for whom Real Madrid shelled out nearly 50 million euros, as if he was already a top-tier player. Remember the hype? The new Ronaldo, the future star of world football. Madrid made a genius investment. Yeah, right. It all started so beautifully. A debut at the Santiago Bernabéu, a goal, some dribbles, fierce duels. It was like a dream. European fans were left with their jaws on the floor. What technique! What power! He's the next El Fenomeno 2.0. And what happened in the end? Let's just say things didn't go according to plan. Our young talent is now stuck firmly on the bench. Carlo Ancelotti, as we know, is an experienced guy, not a fan of taking risks. He's all about getting results, not developing young talents. So what if Rodrigo is injured? So what if Real's attack is struggling at times? Why take a gamble? And so Endrick, the so-called new Ronaldo, spent the whole season warming the bench with just over 50 minutes of game time. Honestly, folks, that's not even garbage minutes. It's downright disrespectful. 50 million euros for this? It's a joke, right? And now, stepping into the spotlight. Ta-da! Ronaldo himself, the one and only El Fenomeno. He's the owner of Valladolid, a team that, to put it mildly, isn't exactly shining. Worst defense in the league, attack barely breathing. Pretty much a striker's dream, huh? But Ronaldo seems to think that Endrick is the lifeline that will pull his club out of the mud. Rumor has it, the Real Madrid legend wants to loan the Brazilian as early as January. And you know what? I think it's not the worst idea. Sure, Valladolid isn't Real Madrid, but Endrick would finally get what he's lacking right now. Playing time. Think about it, isn't that better than warming the bench in Madrid? It's a chance to prove he's not just a 50 million euro golden cage, but a real fighter. Yes, maybe it's a step back, but as they say, sometimes you need to take 2 steps back to make 10 forward. What if Endrick really shines? What if he starts scoring goals in bunches for Valladolid, helps the team stay in La Liga, and adapts to European football? Then Real Madrid would realize what a gem they almost let slip away. Or maybe Ancelotti will change his mind, give Endrick a chance, and we'll finally see what this Brazilian is capable of in the royal club. Personally, I'm betting on the loan. It seems like the only way for Endrick not to lose a year of his career. What do you think, folks? Madrid's golden cage or Ronaldo's lifeline? Time will tell. But one thing's for sure, Endrick's story at Real Madrid is only beginning. And it looks like we're in for a very interesting sequel. It looks like Chelsea has decided that spending money is their national pastime. How else do you explain the fact that after a mountain of transfers over the last 3 years, they're out hunting for a new centre-back again? To say the least, it's a bit surprising considering how much cash has already gone down the drain. Apparently, Enzo Maresca, the newly appointed manager of the Blues, isn't exactly thrilled with his current defenders. You know how it goes. Colwill and Fofana are solid, sure, but apparently not enough for big victories. And Badiashile and Adarabioyo? Well, they seem to be out of the picture, if the rumors are to be believed. So, his top priority is a new centre-back. One that's not just good, but top tier. Enter Tomás Araujo from Benfica. The guy is definitely promising, no doubt about that. At 22 years old, he's been running the show all season and is versatile, can play both centrally and on the right. In short, a dream player. But, as they say, there are 2 sides to every coin. Araujo isn't the kind of player you can pick up for pocket change. Benfica knows their worth, and apparently they're not looking at anything less than £83 million for him. How many Enzos could you buy with that kind of money, huh? And I bet his salary won't be a bargain either. Which makes me wonder, is he really worth it? Sure, they'll score goals up front, but the defense will still be a mess. Maybe it'd be smarter to make the most of what they've got. Give Badiashile a chance, for example, or see if Adarabioyo can step up. Word is that Maresca wants Araujo for the Champions League if Chelsea manages to sneak in. But if they don't, what then? £80 million on the bench? I don't know, I really don't. And it's not just Benfica playing hardball with the price. Crystal Palace and Newcastle are also eyeing Araujo. I have a feeling we're in for another transfer saga full of drama and twists. The experts, by the way, are singing Araujo's praises. They say he's got a great pass, is physically strong and solid in the air, basically the ideal modern defender. But it's one thing to talk him up, and another to throw a pile of cash on the table. I'm curious, what will happen if Chelsea tries to negotiate? Benfica isn't unbreakable. They might budge a little, or will the Blues change course and go for someone else? There are rumours that Guehi and Branthwaite from the Premier League might be available next year. So, let's wait and see how this unfolds. One thing's for sure, it's not going to be boring. Chelsea's back in the spotlight, and this is just the beginning of the transfer madness. What do you think? Who will they end up buying? And will that player live up to the price tag? Barcelona, despite their eternal financial rollercoaster, seems ready to splash the cash once again and snatch a global star, Kvaratskhelia. Remember how the Catalans struggled in recent years, counting every penny? Ah, those were the days. But things seem to be looking up. A new deal with Nike, plus the Camp Nou renovation, promises to bring in cash. So the Barça bosses are thinking of strengthening the squad, and not with just anyone, but with Kvaratskhelia himself. Spanish papers are already buzzing that the Georgian winger is on the club's shortlist, but to be honest, I have no idea how they plan to pull off this transfer. First off, you know De Laurentiis, Napoli's president, right? He doesn't give away his talents for free, he'll ask for a price that'll make your eyes water. And second, where would Barcelona even put him? They already have a fantastic lineup of wingers, each one a top-notch talent. Of course, Kvaratskhelia is an excellent player, no doubt about that. But in my opinion, Barca needs a solid centre-forward more than anything right now. Lewandowski is a machine, but time catches up with everyone. And players like Kvaratskhelia? There's no shortage of them on the market. And let's not forget about Barca's financial issues. I just hope Laporta remembers about FFP and doesn't drown the club in debt. We all remember how that ended last time, don't we? By the way, there are rumours that PSG has already set their sights on Kvara. They've got the cash, and it seems Luis Enrique wouldn't mind having him on his team. There, he'll definitely find a spot. And what about Kvaratskhelia himself? It seems he's not too eager to stay at Napoli either. They still can't sort out his contract. This saga has been dragging on for months. Looks like Kvara has decided not to tie himself down with the Italian club for life. And he's right. Why deal with De Laurentiis and his antics? In short, the situation is heating up. The Kvaratskhelia transfer saga is in full swing. Who's going to hit the jackpot? Barcelona or PSG? Or will he end up in Real Madrid? Time will tell. Well, what a turn of events. Ruud van Nistelrooy, who just parted ways with Manchester United, has decided that the championship is exactly what the doctor ordered. Can you imagine? The Old Trafford legend is eyeing a move to Coventry City. Yes, that same Coventry that shocked everyone by firing Mark Robbins. And now, Van Nistelrooy is throwing his hat in the ring for the vacancy. To say it's an intriguing twist would be an understatement. Van Nistelrooy's post-playing career has been quite the rollercoaster. First, there was PSV, where things seemed to be going well. Second place in the Eredivisie, until bam, a scandal over transfers with the board. Van Nistelrooy slammed the door and left. Then, he was lured back to Manchester United as Ten Hag's assistant. Fans probably got excited, thinking Ruud was returning to his roots to help his beloved club. And how did it turn out? Ten Hag got sacked, Van Nistelrooy took over temporarily, and then in came a new manager, Ruben Amorim, who apparently had no place for the Dutchman. And now, instead of taking on a stable assistant role or looking for a spot at a bigger club, Ruud is heading to the championship. Maybe he just wants to go solo? Or does he really see potential in Coventry? Or maybe it's about the money. Sure, the championship salaries aren't as high as the Premier League, but for a budding manager, the offer could be quite decent, although the financial details are still unknown. On the other hand, there are whispers among the experts that Van Nistelrooy is a backup option for Everton. Apparently, they're not happy with Sean Dyche, who may have saved them from relegation but hasn't brought stability. And the new American owners, the Friedkin Group, are said to want a more attacking style of play. With his Dutch background, Van Nistelrooy could fit right in. But again, Ruud's experience is pretty limited. One season at PSV and 4 games at Manchester United aren't much to go on. Can you imagine Everton risking it all on a guy with such a thin resume? Personally, I think Van Nistelrooy might be rushing things a bit. Yes, he's ambitious and wants to prove his worth, but then again, what if he actually succeeds at Coventry? What if he blossoms as a manager and leads the team to glory? Either way, it's going to be fascinating to watch this story unfold. What do you think awaits Van Nistelrooy at Coventry? Will he be the team's saviour, or is another failure on the horizon? Time will tell, but one thing's for sure, Ruud definitely won't let us get bored.